Well, hello guys, and welcome back to a Star vs. the Forces of Evil rerun review. In this episode, we'll be taking a look at Season 1, Episode 1 and 2, Star Comes to Earth, and Party with a Pony. Now, I decided, even though I've got another season of Steven to do, Star Season 1's only, 26 episodes, 25 episodes actually. It's basically about the same length, and it'll still take me probably about 4 months. But in 2018, I'm kind of trying to wrap up all of my loose ends. I've already got Rick and Morty done, I've got other shows done, and I'm not starting anything anytime soon. Well, October, that's a month away though. But I kind of want to get Star all wrapped up, so we're going to go back and do the very first season, and we're starting off with the very first episode. I'm also going to say right off the bat, I'm going to be very hypercritical of it, and that's just kind of to be expected with me at this point of pilots. Pilots are rarely ever any good. I don't like pilots, but yeah, I'll be critical, but I still, no matter what, I still like the show. It's just, when, in the grand scheme of things, when you retroactively look back at pilots, they just never work, and this is no exception. So, yeah, we start off in the magical kingdom of Muni, and we start off with voiceover. Oh, never do voiceover, just never. And we meet Star Butterfly, a magical princess, and of course, she's different. She's not your everyday average princess. She's special. She likes to hunt monsters and ride unicorns. She's not anything like her stuck-up parents. No. I mean, just on a base level, this is a pilot again, but just on a base level, my God, this is, no. It's just Star's introduction, voiceover, right? Her character description, her stuck-up parents who are royal family, they're not anything interesting at all. Now, I'm not on board with this at all. But yeah, no, it's her 13th birthday, or it's one of those numbers. And she's going to get the royal family wand that's passed down from queen to queen. And now it's Star's turn to get the wand. And her mother warns her, oh, don't let it fall into the hands of evil, because who knows what's going to happen. So cliche, so predictable. The parents are cliche, predictable parents. I'm not going to spoil anything, but everything, I'll bitch and moan now, but everything gets more interesting later on. This is very shallow. These first 2 episodes are very shallow, right? It gets better. Even later, most shows don't get good until usually near the end of their first season. No, this one will be good in just a few episodes, honestly. It'll start to pick up the pace. But when she gets the magic wand, it transforms, and it's like, oh, I can handle it. Next shot, she's burning down the city. Okay, cliche, whatever. Flaming Rainbow is funny, and it's a motif, and we see it at least one more time in the episode, which is nice. But Star's parents are like, this is a horrible idea. We can't have you here, so instead we're going to take you to a dimension without magic and have you deal with it there, right? This is Star versus the Forces of Evil is heavily anime influenced. I mean, just this setup, right? A princess going to another world, Earth specifically. I've seen this in at least a dozen other animes. So yes, this show is anime influenced. But they send her to Earth, you'd think because, oh, it's a world without magic? But yet she can still use her wand? I'd expect it to work like the Infinity Gauntlet, right? Where you can't take it to another dimension because it won't work. But no, she can still use magic. But they bribe the principal of the school and she gets in and I'm glad, at least right now, they don't really focus too much on the fish out of water thing. Fish out of water is super annoying in my opinion. It's one of the tropes I do not like. So I'm glad they don't focus on it very long. They make 1 or 2 jokes, and most of the jokes are background or just punchlines to Marco's jokes. But we see Marco. Marco's our other main character, and he's considered the safest kid in school. So of course he gets paired up with Star, and we see them contrast each other right away. Of course, that's going to work, but Marco doesn't want to be with Star, right? Because, of course, being the pilot episode, he has to hate her until the end of the episode, in which he gets used to her. Because, of course, that's how this always works in every show ever made. But, yeah, so Star introduces herself as a magical princess from another dimension. And with this scene specifically, I want to point out, this is the scene that introduced me to the show. Someone created a GIF of her scene of creating the rainbow and lighting it on fire with the words, "I don't give a fuck." That's how I was introduced to this show. I think the first season hadn't fully aired yet. We were a few episodes in when I first saw it. But I was introduced to the show very early on. Not at the pilot, but you know what I mean. A lot earlier than I get into some other shows. But Marco's like, this sucks bad her with school, but at least I get to go home and relax. Nope, he's stuck with her at home because, yeah, of course he has to be stuck with her. Of course that's how this plot has to work. I'm actually not complaining. This is a perfectly logical thing because, again, this show is heavily anime inspired. So, of course, he has to be stuck with her. This is just following the genre. Nothing new here. I'm going to point it out, but I don't have a problem with it. And she creates some laser puppies. Yeah, okay, that's kind of cute. And we see that throughout this, we've seen that she's being watched by someone. Do we get it? I think we get his name right here, Buff Frog. And yeah, he works for Ludo. Ludo is every jokey cartoon villain ever. There's nothing that makes him special or interesting. And stuff inevitable. If you've ever seen any cartoon ever with a jokey villain like this before, you know what's going to eventually happen because that's how it always works. This show, Wander Over Yonder, OKKO. There's probably another dozen shows I can't even think of off the top of my head that does it. That's just how it works. Ludo's, he's whatever. Whatever. But she gets her own room, and she's like, this is boring, and makes it a giant room, and okay, it's at least a nice change of pace, trying to blend both Muni and the Earth, right? And she goes to do the same thing to Marco's room, but instead ends up sucking it into a black hole. This is just, again, continuing the trope, the anime-inspired thing where they have to hate each other. She tries to make him a cloud of sunshine, but it turns into it turns into a cloud of rain, and like that one Courage the Cowardly Dog episode. I need to watch that show again. I'm busy. But of course they hate, right? Marco hates her. It's how they have to go. I keep saying this is anime, but honestly the trope like this definitely feels more Western. Usually in anime they're very quick to forgive. In Western shows, though, no. There's definitely a lot more conflict. So this is definitely more of a Western trope. Again, showing how the show blends anime and Western shows. Or anime and cartoons, as I always put it. So we see Marco a few hours later, and he's kind of going crazy outside of a convenience store. Star comes to help him out. And they get attacked by Ludo and the monsters. And, of course, it's Marco's, right? The setup here would normally be Marco's the damsel in distress, and Star's going to beat all the monsters because, of course, the show's trying to defy gender norms. I mean, that's literally the entire point of the opening. But no, instead, the show does something I really like. They make Marco capable. Marco knows karate. I think he's like a green belt or something. He eventually becomes a red belt. But Marco knows karate, so he's on equal footing with Star. He's able to fight just as much as Star is. There is no damsel in distress. That is much more progressive than just switching the roles. That's something I really like. That's something really good they set up in the pilot. And I'm totally willing to buy that karate could beat up monsters. Sure. They frame it perfectly. That's something I will give this pilot. We get the fight scene. We see how magic works in this world. We get a drug joke early on in a show like this, but sure, I'll accept it. And Ludo eventually retreats. And of course, Star's like, oh, if you don't want me, I won't stay. And of course, they make up and they become friends. Because, hey, they're going to get to fight monsters some more. It's going to be so much fun. Yay. It's a pilot, right? It's exactly what I expected it to be. It introduces to all of our characters. Another thing I will give it credit for is that the pacing of the episode is it's only 11 minutes, but I feel like the pacing is fast, But it works well here because Star is also fast, right? She's energetic. The pacing matches her speed. I'll give the show credit for that. That's something it does in the pilot. I don't feel like it wastes any time. It's a cliche-riddled mess, but I shit on it, but I don't hate it. I've seen far worse things, and we'll see far worse things in the show. The next episode is Party with a Pony. Not as solid of an episode. I mean, it's okay. So it starts off with Marco's super awesome nachos, which, okay, it's showing that they've become friends, basically, after what we saw in the last episode. And then at their back door, Ponyhead appears. And now, Ponyhead is mixed for me. In some ways, I like her. In some ways, I don't. In this first episode, for example, she meets up with Star because she's Star's best friend, and it's like, let's go make some bad choices. That's funny. I can respect a character who's openly willing to be like, yep, let's go do some bad things. Let's go screw up. And Ponyhead is voiced by Jenny Slate. I don't know who voiced Star and Marco. Let's see. Ed and Cher and Adam MacArthur. Alan Tudyk is Ludo? That's awesome. I like Alan Tudyk. I'm a Disney sucker, so yeah. I did not know that. That's cool. But no, the only actress I do know in the show is Jenny Slate as Ponyhead. I just knew that off the top of my head. But Marco and Ponyhead are gonna fight because Star's saying, oh, Marco's her best friend on Earth. So yeah, and Ponyhead's just kind of a jerk. I mean, she kind of gets better eventually, but as an introduction for her, and you can clearly tell something's off because she's being followed by 3 guys in uniform. They head to the Bounce Lounge, which is kind of a recurring location. Kind of. And I do love, there's one good joke here where Marco almost falls off and there's a skeleton that's just dead in the spikes below. That's funny, but then at a later point, he basically tells Marco that he hopes he falls and dies. That's also really funny. That's up there. That's one of the best jokes in the episode. That, and there's one other we'll get to. But right, Marco and Star and Ponyhead are trying to have fun, but Marco and Ponyhead hate each other, and eventually Ponyhead calls him an earth turd, and this sucks, right? And I'm not going to be your friend like Star wants. And they moved to a next location because Ponyhead's being followed. They head to the Amethyst Arcade. It's okay. I'm always a fan of crystals, but this feels very simplistic. But Marco and Ponyhead compete because, of course, they hate each other. And this is also very cliche of an episode, of course. But they eventually run away and ditch Marco because, again, Ponyhead's being followed. They head to some fish nightclub. I don't even remember if they give the name. But Star and Ponyhead fight about ditching Marco. Let's all of us be friends. But no, if you're going to be mean like that, then screw you. I'm paraphrasing, of course. But they head back to the Amethyst Arcade, and we get a Back to the Future reference. It's fine. It's fine. But Star gets her dimensional scissors. We get a chase scene. It's also okay. It's not as good as the fight scene in the previous episode, but it's not also that bad. I mean, the energy's kept up, and eventually Ponyhead does get her ass kicked, but Star and Marco are there to defend her. And that's when the King Ponyhead shows up, who's just a giant pony head, because pony heads are obviously, it's this show's take on like a My Little Pony. I mean, they even have stupid cutie marks, but the joke is that they're just floating pony heads. Okay, sure. The King Ponyhead, though, he has the best line in the episode, or it's tied with the other one, where it's you get kids, you have them, and then you don't want them anymore. That's funny, because the guards have been chasing after Ponyhead because they're sending her to St. Olga's, which is basically Princess Jail. It's actually nice to connect these two episodes, because on top of introducing us to everything, and Ponyhead's also a big player in this show, it's also, they're both tied together by St. Olga's, because St. Olga's was brought up in a previous episode. That's a nice touch that connects the two. But yeah, they basically call it a princess jail, because it's Princess Jail and everything but name. Yeah, sure, it's an interesting concept, especially when you have something like interdimensional scissors, which Ponyhead gets taken away But Star still has her interdimensional scissors, so now they can go anywhere in the multiverse. I mean, yeah, it's fine. I don't know entirely I don't know if I love this or not. Because, like I said, the show is anime influenced. And one of the big things is taking something magical and putting it into a non-magical situation and just seeing how it plays out. That's a big trope of this genre, right? That's basically the fuel that runs this genre. But now that they have dimensional scissors, they can go anywhere. So that's both a subversion to the trope, but I also feel like it's kind of taking away from it as well. I mean, it exists for a reason, you know what I'm saying? And that's where the episode ends, because even though they can go anywheres, they're just going to stay on Earth, which is it's a nice way to wrap everything up. That doesn't mean they aren't going to go all over space. And yeah, that's a Party with a Pony. It's okay. It's not both the starting episodes are okay. But they don't have to be better than that. They can be okay because, again, the show has multiple episodes to get itself going, and I don't expect everything to start overnight. And it is entertaining enough, and the concepts are strong enough that if you are interested in the show, it definitely will provide at a later point. But that's where we're starting off. And I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.